state for Toni? What's happening in your world, Toni, right now?
Well, right now I'm hanging out in a home office, trying to get creative on different ways that we can serve our clients while our business is shut down for COVID-19. So, yeah, just working on that, trying to, get some funds so that I can bring my staff back on and get them rehired so we can continue our associates program and continue training with them. So that's my current state.
Survival mode.
Yes.
Right?
And just getting creative because I was just thinking about this the other day. This is not the end of the game. It's just changing. It's playing the game a little bit different. And I believe that you just have to look at it and focus on what you can control and spend a little less time worrying about what you can't control. So right now I'm focusing on the best way that I can serve my clients. And because that's what I want to do no matter what it is. So even though I can't work behind my chair hands-on with them, there's still some way I can serve them, or we can serve them as a team. So
what does that look like? Like, what are some of the examples that you've gotten creative?
Yeah, so just most recent, I've reached out to our guests and asked them if they're having a hard time getting their products that they normally get. I've been able to connect back and forth with people quite a bit with that. That was a lot of fun, emailing back and forth. And I did a couple home deliveries yesterday. I've done some shipping, taken it to the post office and dropped off some packages and shipped out. So I'm setting up to do a tutorial video on retouching my own roots. And so I'm going to put a bit of that out there, getting some root retouch kits out there, and which will include like virtual consultations with people so that I can customize a color formula for them and give them some pointers on how they can look their best. Because I'm positive that even though many of us aren't able to go to our regular jobs, there's still people working and doing Zoom calls and things like that. And, they want to look their best, when they're working with their colleagues and things like that. So,
yeah. Is Tyler, are you showing us your hair? Is that what you're going for?
That is not hair. Which hair are you looking at?
Well, you're talking, I just thought maybe with the root retouch-ups you were
Oh no, but if you want like a real miracle project, you can't already start with the Picasso and like touch it up. You got to start with like, something real rough. So let me know if I can volunteer for that. But in all seriousness, let's talk about the business model, like the name, where you are, all of that, the business model, 2019. Like, talk about that business first.
How it actually started this past year.
Well, yeah, just like, how are things going towards the end of 2019, early 2020, and how is that all looking with regards to staff and the business and all of that? Because it's Rejuvenate Salon and Spa in New London.
Yep.
And so how was that business going? What was the trajectory like at that momentum at that point?
Yeah, so I have been in business for about 4 years, and I decided to make a big shift in my business model, which means that I was taking quite a big risk going into 2020, and very confident that this big shift was still going to be, was going to make this business better for myself, my staff, and my community. I still believe that's true. So my shift in business was, I was a booth rental salon, and now I'm employee based. And so I did that whole switch over, announced that to my team, shared my vision for 2020 with my team back in November. And so that was the end of 2019 going into 2020. We've hired some new associates to start in our empowerment program that was just launched in December. So lots of big changes going into 2020.
Can you, Toni, talk about why you decided to like pivot your business model or shift, or like what led up to that decision?
Right.
That
Like
change?
what's a typical, you said like a booth rental salon. Describe
Yeah.
that business model and then kind of what you went to.
Yeah, so I was originally I was an employee, then I became a booth renter, and I was a booth renter for quite a few years. And so when I started my business, I thought it made the most sense to do that. That same business model is to be a rental salon, and I was kind of following in the footsteps of salon owners that I had worked for in the past, and I didn't know very much about business at that time, and so I thought it looked like a good model. And some of the biggest, I would say the biggest reason that I shifted this model is because I learned really quickly that I cannot grow a business as working as a technician behind my chair full time. And as a booth rental salon, that was my option. There wasn't enough revenue to come in.
Whoa. Sorry.
She does this all the time. She's so young and embarrassing. Really. It's like, she's like, oh, yeah, this is not as important to me. Yeah, as it is to you guys. I have so many cool things going on. It's embarrassing.
Micah knows in the middle of a podcast. That was so rude, Micah. Actually, you know what's happening? He's at the grocery store, doesn't know what to buy. Classic man. I have to ignore that.
Hey, at least he understands his role. He's like, I need woman to tell me to do. You know, that's fine. But when you talk booth rental, that means that you, as even if you own the salon, right? Like your revenue is pretty well set, or do you take because the individual stylists come in, they rent a spot from you. That's a flat rate no matter what, and then do you get like a certain percentage of their revenue as well? Or how does that work?
So I'm essentially a landlord. So they rent a chair from me, and their sales, I go directly to them. The only kind of alternate things we would have would be retail. I always carried the retail, just because it seemed nobody wanted to kind of jump down that road with doing sales tax and all of that. So I carried the retail and I gave them a commission off of that. But otherwise, no. If, for example, if you would come in and get your hair cut with one of our rental stylists, you would pay them directly. They would pay me. They paid me weekly for their rent for their space, and they were essentially, I mean, business owners themselves working under the umbrella of my business. So,
but that is not what you, or is like a hybrid version of that what you moved to, something just like sort of different, or?
Yeah, so now I'm employee based, and so I do currently still have one part-time rental person that works with me, but I shifted to be employee based. So I'm employing people, and I built an associates program so that I could send them through a really good, thorough training program before they step behind the chair and start working with our guests. So when I started that and wanted to hire for that, I was looking for people with less than 2 years of experience. And so my most recent hires, they came straight out of Ridgewater Cosmetology program. They finished up with that at the end of the year, and they've started in our empowerment program, and they're about halfway through it, and they're holding on with me. We're still doing a little bit of training each week, even through this shutdown. So that just shows me they're dedicated to their careers, and that's exciting for me. I think I got a couple of really awesome girls on our team ready to go, looking at the future of in their careers and then also our business. So.
Mm-hmm. So it was, if I understand what you're saying correctly, it was before you were a landlord, and it was almost like there was like a frictional relationship with the people doing this, like they'd like come and collect their money weekly. Like it was not necessarily 100% right. Like you're all on a team, I guess, if they were renting a spot.
Yeah,
then,
and I tried to shift that a little bit and to make it more team-based, because I mean, this process of shifting my business model has been rolling process for over a year. Like it wasn't just a split decision to do this. And I really wanted a team, like a team that works all together, that all in on the same overall mission. And it's really challenging to get that when you have a bunch of independent people. Right. Even though we called ourselves a team and we all worked together and we were all coworkers, it's not the same. And it's just because they have more of a me mindset, and I was looking for more of a we mindset where we all work together.
Right.
Yeah, so some challenges that I ran into were I bring in educators right into the salon to do education classes with us, and not everyone wanted to participate because they wanted to spend their time making money versus growing their knowledge base. And that was really hard for me because it takes a lot to bring an educator in. It takes a lot of funds, and and education is really key for me. Like, I think that you just our industry changes and moves constantly, and if you're not willing to stay cutting edge, you're going to be burnt out and dried up really quick. So I don't want to be known for that. So education is really important, but I want my whole team to do it. I've been doing education myself for a long time. I like to go to destination trainings. I want to take a team with me, and it's really hard to get independent contractors to really think about that, or value the time away from their clients so they can bring back something new. They just think of the loss of the money that's coming in from not being there.
Mm-hmm.
So totally different mindsets. Not good or bad, just different.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you explain, Toni, what the empowerment program that you built, like how exactly it works, how somebody comes in, you kind of give somebody that's just starting out in the industry, like a runway, so to speak, that you've built. So I'm curious what that looks like.
Yeah. So, our empowerment program is anyone that has, ideally I'm looking for less than 2 years of experience. So they don't have to come right out of college. But my first two did come right out of college. So they come in, there's 4 levels to the empowerment program. They start at the base level where they're learning our reception desk, they're learning our guest experience, they're learning how we work together as a team. And from there, then they're moving into the second level where they're getting a little bit more hands-on, doing some services. So we offer a really big range of services. So we're starting with basic things, manicures, pedicures, things like that on that second level that they can start doing some of the services as we train them through. And then some of the more advanced things, once they get up to level 4, are like lash extensions or more in depth on aesthetic skincare. And those are more technical type things that they're learning at that level. And then from there, they go into what we call a career path plan. So they can see through their entire time with us, they can see where they are, what they need to do to get to the next level, and they can actually see how they can grow throughout the career.
Yeah.
And so it's this, I get asked a lot of questions about this being something that the college is doing with me, and no, it's not. It's something that I built through a coach. Somebody helped me build it, but I built it specific for our business. And then, but somebody can start in that and see how they could grow through their career. I mean, it could be a 20-year career. It could be, as long as they want it to be. But so many people ask if it's just for like an internship. And
right.
I'm not sure what that was.
Probably, Jamie. But so, and I think there are kind of like 2 things that I like about it. And I think the first thing is when it's a booth rental place and there are a bunch of independent contractors, each of those each of those independent contractors kind of represent the Rejuvenate brand, but they also care more about their own. And you're at a vulnerability as the owner of the salon because, right, they could just leave and take all their clients with them and go somewhere else. But now with this new program, you do take on some initial risk, right? Because they're going to be getting paid independent of, their volume. There might be some volume stuff in there, I'm not sure, but the advantage is you can have more of a direct hold on like the brand and the teamwork and the culture, and then you can scale the business, right? If someone leaves, they're no longer really like, hopefully you've built a strong enough brand at Rejuvenate with your team and your culture that people want to stay there instead of just leaving with the stylist. I mean,
Exactly.
That's how I see it, at least. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of salon owners have the mindset that they don't want to teach too much because they're afraid that those people will take that information and go down the road with it. And yeah, that's possible. That could happen. But I'm not worried about that. I feel if they're leaving, I'm not doing something right as an owner, and I'm not providing something that they need. So through our culture. And so that's on me to figure out why they're leaving if that does happen. But I'm trying, I'm young. I'm a young business owner, and I'm trying my best to figure out how to build a culture. And that's hard to know. So we're putting small pieces in a little at a time. One of the things that we did for team building today is we went out to Sibley. So Jamie, I saw you were out at Mount Tom. We were out at Mount Tom today too. So
there were so many people out there.
Yeah. So we were out there right away this morning.
Oh, cool.
Some different things that we do in the morning is like daily huddles and things like that to just try and build that culture. And I think we'll add more things to it as I learn more about leadership. But I think where I'm at now compared to what I was 4 years ago is drastic. Like I never would have thought I would have learned this much in such a short period of time.
Yeah. Once you kind of get that buy-in from your employees too, like they're excited about things, or do they like message you ideas for what they want to learn, or what they kind of want to do as like a team building type activity?
Some they're opening up a little bit more and more as we get to know each other. So yeah,
that's kind of
Were
fun.
there any people that when you kind of brought the idea the first time that were like, nah, I'm out, and they like didn't stay? Or have you, I don't know, it seems pretty different. I just wonder, was there any friction
with the shift in business model? Yeah. So like I said, this process was over a period of time. So I started out as a rental. I became blended, which meant that I hired a couple employees, kept some renters, and it still wasn't creating the thing that I needed it to create. And so then I shared my vision for 2020 in November of 2019. And my current team, I offered them employment positions. And they loved the idea of the empowerment program. They liked what I was doing with the business. They liked feeling like they were more a part of a team because of different things that we had already started putting in place for culture. But it wasn't enough to keep them. And I knew that was very possible that they would leave. So I knew that I needed to make that shift, but I also knew that I had to have a lot of things in place before I did that. The empowerment program was one of them. And then the career path plan was another thing. Those things were crucial for me to have in place because I needed to know that I could be bringing somebody else in to take those spots if my renters did leave. And yes, 2 of them did leave. So, yep. And as much as I would have loved for them to stay, I completely understand why they didn't too. So, I was a renter at one time as well. So,
yeah, sure. Well, and if they don't buy into your mission, they can hurt the business more than, shifting in the right direction advances things. You know what I mean? They can bring the ship down pretty fast.
Yes, I knew that once I had been blended for a little bit and I was like, that still wasn't getting me to where we needed to go. I knew that I had to say, okay, I can't rent anymore before I brought on too many new people, just because I didn't want that culture to be mixed.
Yeah.
I'm investing a ton of time and a ton of money into these new girls when they're starting this empowerment program because I am paying them, and they're not bringing in revenue when they start. They're not doing services right off the bat. So yeah, it's an investment, and I needed just to make sure that, for one, that wasn't getting tainted, with any sort of cultural mix that wasn't going to be good. I actually hired 3 and had to let 1 go, and that is the hardest part of my job, like, which I'm sure a lot of business owners say that, but how
long did you know that person had to go before you were like, you actually did it?
I did, yeah, a couple weeks probably. And then I just kept learning more and more. And I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. But so I don't have experience letting people go. So I had to talk with my mentor about that, because it's really important to me that I don't discourage somebody from continuing on in our industry, because that particular stylist, I think, is going to be an incredible stylist. I think that I might see her on a stage someday being an educator, but she wasn't a fit for my culture. But I also needed to make sure that I didn't discourage her from going on.
Sure.
In our industry. So,
That's tough.
yeah. It is tough, but I also, at that same time that I let her go, I elevated our empowerment program, because that program is for the people that are committed to their career, and it's not taken lightly. Like, not everybody gets to join this program. It's a big deal. So,
because it's a highway to a sustainable career with very little risk.
We're paving the path for them. We're teaching them everything they need to know, from personal development, marketing things. It's not just about working behind their chair. They're actually building a business and building their career. Yeah.
Right.
What are the other, like, what were some of the big challenges that you've kind of uncovered in the last, maybe since you've even opened your business, like eye-opening moments or other things that have been really tough that you just didn't quite anticipate, being a business owner that has to do almost all of the work?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I learned early on was that I could not work behind my chair full time, and I couldn't be that technician full time and run a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard for me to tell my clients that I'm cutting my hours back. That's really hard. But I also think that every time that I've cut my hours back, my business has grown even more, because I'm able to focus on the things that are, I don't want to say more important, but kind of, sort of. I mean,
well,
I'm not just growing myself anymore. I'm growing a whole team, and I have other people's careers on my shoulders too. So I think that was the biggest thing, learning that I had to step away from working behind my chair, because
there are only 2 ways to grow your business when you're selling your own time, is to charge more or work more. Mm-hmm. And if you want to scale any more than that, I think you made the right call, because I think, like, there are people in every career or industry that are very happy, like, working in their job and getting their paycheck and going home, and whatever their life balance is, that's what they're happy doing that without taking on the risk of, because growing anything is a risk, and without taking on that risk, they're happy in that employee position. But you weren't, and you wanted to grow more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And can we talk about that a little bit? When did you know that was did you always know that you wanted to run a business of some kind, or was there, like, kind of that, am I stuck in a rut? I can't grow this anymore if I keep standing behind the people that I love, but I just can't grow it. When did you, like, know that, or what was that transition like?
Well, so when I was graduating from beauty school or cosmetology school, I knew that I wanted to open a business. I never thought I would have opened a business as young as I was. But everything just seemed to fall into place. So like I said, education is big to me. I've always been learning new things and adding new services. And I was running out of space at the current salon that I was working at to do the services that I was adding. And so the hardware store, I heard that that was closing in New London, and somebody was going to buy that and turn it into suites. And that's my hometown now. So I just kind of, I fell into that. I got on the phone with them, who I heard was going to buy the hardware store. And yep, sure enough, they were going to buy the hardware store and they were going to turn it into suites. And I said, I'm interested in one of those suites. Like, they hadn't even bought the building yet.
Nice.
But so that kind of just I was running out of space where I was at. I was working in Wilmer as a renter. And then I was also renting an office space in New London to be able to do lash extensions, was the latest service that I had learned. And then I was about to graduate from Ridgewater, and I had done their advanced aesthetics program. So there was no way that I could do skincare in either of the two places that I was working. So it was either I not keep up with that, or I find a place where I can do all of it. So I went into it putting my business plan together, not really looking at I wanted to have a space big enough to have other people work there, but I went into it thinking it was just going to be myself to start with. And I just wanted to have more space to do more services for my clients. Mm-hmm. And I was, yeah.
How did that conversation go with your significant other when you were like, you know what, like, what do you think about me blank?
Well, my husband is, I always say he's the man of few words, but he's always stood by me. And I always say that he grounds me because I'm kind of adventurous and I'm not afraid to take risk. And he's really he's always been supportive. I think that going into that space in the old hardware store, so we set up, we were responsible for building on our space. We were the perfect pair to be able to put that together because he works in construction and I work in, I knew what I needed for the space, but he knew the construction end of it because he's an electrician. So that was really helpful. He was all about it. I mean, he was really supportive. I tend to pile a lot of things on my plate at one time. So, we've worked together enough now that I'm like, okay, so when I come to you and I say, can I do this? He never wants to discourage me. So he's always like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. But then I get halfway through something and I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing all this at once? And he's like, yeah, maybe you should have thought about not doing it all at once. So now I tell him that it's his job to say before I start a new project, okay, maybe you don't want to do all this at once.
Right.
But
check one thing off before you add one thing on.
Yeah, because 2015 was a pretty big year for us. That's the year we opened the business. But I did a lot of other things that year as well. So, and when I was, in the middle of all that, I'm like, oh my gosh. You don't realize how stressful it is until you're kind of coming out of some of the stuff because you're so busy.
Yeah, you just get used to the new normal, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm like, how did I survive through all that? Because there was a lot, but
yeah. I'm stricken with that ability to overwhelm myself as well. And so when you had the first conversation, or you realized it was a reality that you're in the middle of growing this thing, and the governor announces that things are suddenly going to change for your business without you anticipating it, what was your initial what's your reaction to that as a business owner when you're like, I have no power over this? Because normally you're overwhelmed with decisions to make, and you're overwhelmed with, I have so much power, I don't know what to do, but I know you can take action.
Every decision falls on your shoulders, pretty much.
If you make the wrong choice, you just work your ass off to try to fix it. Well, now it's something that's beyond your control. Describe how that kind of feels as a business person to learn that.
So I think that the first feeling that I had was that I knew that I also have other people working in my business, and it's not just about me. And what can I do to help these girls through this? So I have a couple of really young girls on my team that haven't had a lot of life experience, and this is a really scary situation for them. So I tried my best to stay calm myself as a business owner, even though, yeah, they're going to close my business. But I also needed to like portray that confidence onto these other girls that this is going to be okay. We're going to get through it. I'm confident the world is going to be a better place when we get to the other side of this. And this business will not fail because of it. It's just not going to fail. So, but yeah, I think that was the first feeling, was like, wow, I mean, this is putting other people out of work, and it's not any control of my own, but it's still, they're employed here, and I can't keep them on staff while we close down. So I think that was the first feel that I had.
Right.
And
what was the conversation like when you were talking with them to like calm the 20-year-old nerves? Like what was that like?
So my guidance to them was, when you're to step away from scrolling through your social media news feed, go to reliable sources, go to the government website, get your information from there. When the governor's talking, watch him on the live or a replay of him actually talking and having the conversation, instead of taking somebody else's word for what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And then I said, there are resources out there for you guys, that it's going to be okay. If you're still going to be able to get some income. It's just going to come in a different way. But I think the best words of advice that I had for them was to look at reliable resources instead of just scrolling through their social media, because I just saw the anxiety rising in people.
Yeah.
With that. And some other things that I talked a lot about before they told us that we were, because I could kind of anticipate that we were going to be shut down. But the mental state, and talking about like how you can control your own emotions, and meditation. I sat in the break room that last day that we were open with one of my girls, and she had never meditated before. And I know a lot of people think, oh, that's woo-woo, but I'm like, it really can shift your mindset. And so I had put it out there a few times for them. And then I had one of them that said, I've never done this before. Would you be willing to do it with me? And I'm like, sure. So we sat in the break room for 15 minutes. And she walked away from that way more confident. And I can see that confidence still in her now, weeks later. So that made a big difference for her. And I just kept saying, things that they can do to take care of themselves. And because I think people will have a lot of like emotional breakdowns and stuff over this, like try and avoid that, with different practices that can help you through it. So
how long have you been using meditation as a tool?
Well, I would say probably maybe August of last year, I think, is when I started. So I read a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Anyways, so it's a complete practice that I do every single morning, and there's many things that I do every morning, but meditation is one of them. Journaling is one of them. Affirmations. I love to read, and I'm a mom of 2 young little boys, and my husband, he works on the road. So I'm here manning these 2 kids, but I still want to feed my own soul and that's something that I really love, is to read. So that's the only opportunity I get to do it, is my morning time before they wake up. But there's lots of things that I do and I don't know, I think it's helped. Right.
Well, it's taking an act, like a an engaging and intentional approach with your mental health. People go on walks and some of them work out like Jamie does, and taking care of the physical side, like they're pretty intentional. But, I think we're getting to a point now as a society where people are taking an intentional approach to their mental health as well. And so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
At least paying attention to what brings you back to kind of center. Okay, Jamie, I'm not going to steal any more. Do you have any questions
Well, that was one of the things I was going to ask next was like, you have a business that's focused on giving people such good experiences that make them, feel better mentally, physically, whatever it might be. And as a business owner, you have like just the stress levels are there. So what do you do to kind of escape some of that? So you talked about the morning routine being your way of finding some peace of mind, but are there other ways that you find some balance in the business entrepreneur?
Yeah, I work out.
other than drinking excessively, which is fine.
Yeah, I work out. Yeah, I work.
And I know, Toni, you're also like, my follow-up to that is you're also really into self-development and that kind of leadership development too. So how do you grow not only what things do you do to grow like your skill set when it comes to that?
I work with coaches. I have through the coaching program that I'm with now, I have a mentor that I meet with once a month. But I've gone through a lot of different coaches in different programs, and I feel like I've kind of found where I belong now with this company that I'm working with. They're specific to my industry, and it's an investment. I put money towards it every single month, but it is worth every penny that I pay towards it, because I know I don't know everything. I don't want to recreate the wheel. Somebody else has done it. They've been successful doing it. So teach me how to do it. And I want to learn. So I'm searching out opportunities for that. And I have worked with many different ones over the last 4 years. And I'm sure in a couple of years from now, I could have this conversation again, and I'm probably working with somebody different or somebody, something new. But it's all about surrounding myself with people that are more successful than me. So, and I want to learn from them. And it used to be really intimidating to walk into a room with people that were more successful than me, and it's not anymore.
What are you saying? What rooms are you walking into? I want to walk into them too.
Well, the coaching company that I work with, my mentor is a salon owner of a salon that's $1 million salon. I mean, they're producing drastically more than what I produce.
Yes.
And like someday, they just got back from Nashville. They go on destination trainings multiple times a year. And I'm like, I am going to be with those girls one of these days. So yeah.
The whole coaching world seems like the wild, wild west. You can have like a 17-year-old life coach, and then you can have someone that's actually good. How did you navigate that to make sure you were finding stuff that like benefited you? I get that you're a risk taker, but still how does that work? Do you approach a company? Do they approach you? And did you have like a sit down coffee to see if you meshed first, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so one of the companies that I work with right now, they did do like an interview process. Like I had to be a fit in order for them to bring me into their network. So yeah, there was some conversation ahead of time about that. They reached out to me through social media, and then I got on a call with them. They did kind of an interview process, and because they're protecting their group that they have. So that's how I got introduced to them. Others I've seeked out. I work with a couple different programs. The one that I'm talking about is High Performance Salon Academy. They are the ones that I work with a mentor on. I'm more connected with them. They give me a ton of support, but I also work with a couple other ones. One of them that I feel I get more marketing education from them. But there's certain other things that I'm not all in on, I don't know. I feel like when I'm looking for somebody to coach me, I want to connect with them. I want them to be like my kind of people, if that makes sense.
100%.
And with the High Performance Salon Academy, like there are programs out there that will help you build like an associate's program. They'll give you a cookie cutter strategy and here you go, this is how you do it. I took a totally different approach and built it specific for what I needed in my business. So that was, I really like that because I don't want to be like anybody else. I want my business to be unique. And I didn't want to follow the cookie cutter approach to it. So
totally agree. That sounds terrible. Yeah. So it seems to me like before this whole weird thing happened in the last month and a half, with the economy going well, that it was like a super exciting time to be putting in this new program, this development program, right? And I can tell the answer already. I know what it is, but logically in my brain, I would be like, well, but does it ever cross your brain to like, you know what? With this current environment, maybe I should just go back to renting chairs. Explain. That's good. But I mean, like, I figured that's what it was going to be, but because that's lower risk for you, right? You get a couple of people, you just kind of get by. Why is it so important to you, I guess is what I'm asking.
Because I have a mission, and when I set my mind to something, I'm not turning away from it. Yes, I take risks, but I don't make those decisions lightly. And I'm not in it just for the money. Yes, I would love to have a business that, I can walk away from and it keeps paying me. But that's not my mission. If it was all about money, yes, but that's not even in my mindset.
Right.
Yeah, I'm building something more and I'm impacting more people than just myself. So.
Right. And this is like the ultimate test, right? It's easier, I think, when things are going well to be the leader of a winning team that's undefeated. It's a lot harder to be a good leader when like it's the fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, some of the other feelings that I get about this too is, I think in my head that I should be more stressed right now than what I actually am feeling. A few months ago, I had more stress than what I do now. I can't control this.
Yeah.
So I'm focusing on the things that I can control and trying not to focus on the things that I can't. And I don't feel stressed about it. I don't know. I just believe that we're going to come out of this.
The alcohol. Okay. That's a depressant. It's helping. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. Like then again, I get that feeling that, you know what, we're going to be okay and positive, but I don't live in New York and we haven't really tasted it yet. I don't know. I feel positive. I try to be positive about stuff too. Jamie is also a positive person. At the same time, man, I hope it doesn't hope it doesn't feel like New York here at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it will. Looking on the bright side,
Fine.
Toni, if like just picture Rejuvenate maybe like even just 3 years from now, 3 to 5 years. Doesn't seem like a long time away, but it kind of is. You're still in the middle of pivoting, so to speak. So what does Rejuvenate look like? What do you want what does success look like to you? And does that involve like what your lifestyle looks like?
Yeah, so I want to spend more time with my family. That would be a really awesome thing to have. But as far as the business goes, yeah, so I'd like to expand. I'd like to.
Okay.
I've looked at some different buildings and I'm keeping my eye open on that kind of thing. But I think in order to build and be able to grow and maybe expand even further down the road, we might end up building something. I'm not sure quite yet, but I keep my eyes open for opportunities. But yeah, that's the goal. We have a floor plan that we had actually before we opened in my current space. we've made adjustments to it. And before we actually build, we'll maybe make some more adjustments. But I want to be a health and wellness center where we offer so much more than just beauty. Like it is actually about like the well-being of your body and your mindset. And yeah.
Do you still picture Rejuvenate being in New London in this new?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious.
I don't want to leave this community. The people are really supportive here. This is my husband's hometown. I grew up just about 20 miles north of here, but this is my hometown, and this is it's the community that I love being a part of. And other small business owners, they're rallying around each other, and that feels good too.
For sure.
I want to raise my babies here. I don't want to expand to be somewhere further from here. But yeah, I mean, ideally, I'm building my business to be able to operate without me. That I keep that in mind. I can't foresee the future where I wouldn't be working with clients, you know, in my salon. But the idea of having a business is to be able to walk away from it and it operates so I can go on a vacation with my family and not take my laptop with me because I haven't done that.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah, and I think it's true too that it seems like you love it so much that you might even have an option to do that, but you might not. You might still choose to be part of it because you like it. And that's a problem I see some people at the beginning when they're starting is they don't actually like what they're doing. And the goal is just to get out as quickly as possible to build this like self-sustaining machine. But when you own the thing, like it is your, like it's your blood, sweat, and tears that are the gasoline. And at some, unless it's a, huge business where you're a president or something like that, you have to like it and still breathe oxygen, like into the business at some point in some way. Right. So you might as well pick something you like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Toni. So we've talked about where you think you want your dream to go. We've talked about how you're surviving right now and like very relative to how the rest of us are. Just like we don't even know which way is up really yet, right? As a mom and a business owner, that throws another layer of complication onto all of this. And how is that? Because that's like a different person. You're like business owner person, and then you get to be mom person, and they're like two different people living at the same time, but never in the same room. How does that work for you?
It's really hard.
Okay.
And at this point, my family hits the back burner way too much. And so, yeah, that's part of, like, I'm working my butt off now to put all these things in place so that I can spend more time with my family before my kids are way old.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's my goal. And, it is hard. It's especially hard right now because I'm not used to being home with my kids. So I literally pray for patience every day. Like, I am typically a really patient person, but when I'm trying to do work and shift my focus on still doing service offerings, but then I have these two little ones at home that need my attention and as well, it's really challenging, but I think we're gonna make it through it just fine.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's right. Like things are going pretty well, and like all of a sudden the kids are at each other's throats, and then you get a message that some fire is going on, and you're like, bah! And they're the humans closest to you that you can let it out on, and it's tough, right?
It is. Yeah, it is.
But, so how do you want your kids to see you? Because this is one of the things that I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs too, is that, this is how I want my kids to see me. Like maybe you work harder or you're up later, or maybe you have to put them on the back burner every once in a while, but how do you want them to see you through all of this?
I've never really thought about that. I always say that the most important thing to me is to raise my kids to be kind people. So I would say that I want them to see me pursuing something that I'm really passionate about, loving what I do for my work, making an impact on other people's lives, impacting our community, because this is the small town that we live in. I want them to see me as somebody that's doing things for other people to help them grow in their life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. You kind of
that's a good
answer with that question.
It's a good question, but the reason I ask it is purely 100% selfish, because I think about that all the time. Is when you know, right now my family's upstairs, like getting supper ready, and I'm down here, and I've already to like shoo them away a couple times, you know, and but as a parent and a business owner, when you've got young kids, I think you just have to be resigned to the fact that I want my kids when they're older to know that they can go and make their dream, but it's going to be freaking hard. And it should be hard, probably. It's, you know, because not everyone can really do it. And so I want them to kind of have an idea of what it takes a little bit, you know, and then to also, you know, God forbid something happens, but at some point when I'm not around here anymore, they can say, like, at least, you know, like your kids could say, Mom went and did what she loved to do. Like, she went and tried to build her dream. And you want your kids to have that, to say, like, to think that about you, and then to feel like they can go and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you don't have to be, I don't know. I was just an average student in high school. Like, you don't have to be somebody big to make a big difference and a big impact on people's lives. But you do have to be willing to grow and learn.
Work hard as heck.
And work hard.
Sorry,
Yes, work ethic was instilled. It was instilled in me as a young person. So my, yeah.
Because your parents were entrepreneurs, right? Your dad was.
My dad, right? Yeah, my dad is, yeah. And I grew up in the country, which I don't know, I always kind of resort back to that. I mean, like, we threw hay bales, we scooped poop.
That's a lifestyle.
We worked hard. We didn't get up on Saturday mornings and watch cartoons. Like, we had things to do. So that work ethic was, my dad, my parents ran a trucking company when I was young, and my brother and I, we washed the outside of the trucks for the drivers. My job was vacuuming the inside of the trucks. Like, we always were doing something. There was no like sitting around lounging in your pajamas all day. Like, that just was not part of our lifestyle ever. And so, yeah, work ethic was instilled. And yeah, I mean, I've watched my parents be business owners for years. And so I definitely see the entrepreneurship more in my dad than in myself, than in my mom. But my mom was also the, you know, I always say, like, the financial backbone of everything. She had that mindset for keeping the actual business things running. My dad's been more of the technician, but he's the dreamer. So I got a little bit of both.
A little balance.
The biggest difference that I want to do in my business is that I want it to operate without me. And my parents are in their 50s, and their business isn't set up for that at this point. And hopefully it will be before they're ready to retire, because they've owned multiple businesses over the years. But I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to that business will be able to run without them. So
that's a tough spot to be in when you're like a decade away from retirement. Jamie's raising her finger, which means she has something to say.
Toni, I know we're going to wrap up soon, but I want to know one book or podcast that you would recommend right now to any other business owners out there or entrepreneurial minded people. I know you are into that kind of stuff, so I'm curious what's on your radar as of late.
Well, because of the current situation, I would say the book Profit First. I don't know the author. I can see it on my bookshelf over there, but I can't see the author.
Can Google.
That's enough. Yeah.
It is going to be a book that I'm going to recommend, because when my business is shut down, I know that I can pay for our expenses through these next few months, because I have money set aside for things like this that might happen. So I would say Profit First is a really good book, because I have funds delegated out to each area that I need it to be. And I have a rainy day fund that's going to be able to float my business through this. And that has given me the confidence and the security that we're going to make it through this and it's going to be okay.
Turns out that's what's given you some confidence for sure, and peace of mind. You are smart.
That's an amazing suggestion.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
sorry if people are listening to this and they're like, well, I didn't do that. Yeah, sorry. Next time you can maybe make that change.
Start now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Toni, where can people find you? And then, where can people find you right now? Like if they wanted to ask a question or learn more about your business, how would they do that?
Yeah, so our Facebook page at Rejuvenate Salon and Spa in New London. We have Facebook, Instagram. Our phone number at the salon is probably not the best option right now because nobody is there.
Right.
I do have lots of people that personally message me as well, but those are going to our website, opting in on our website. We have some different options on there. I'm trying to stay connected with people. A couple of girls on our team are also on Facebook, staying connected with people during this time because we want to serve. We want to serve, and we're just getting creative on how we can do that. So,
sure.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Toni, so much for taking some time out of your Sunday night to chat with us.
Yes,
thank you. Thanks for asking me to do this.
It was super fun.
We'll be in touch, and hopefully we'll see you in New London again, up and running soon.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope so.
All right, ladies. Jamie, Toni, you guys have a good night.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Back on the kids, you guys.
Yeah,
See you.
See ya.
See you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Forever Game podcast as much as we enjoyed creating it. And I have a question for you. Do you like your social media marketing? If you're an individual or a business and you don't love the content you put out, let us help you. We love doing this stuff. We would love to give you advice. We would love to help you execute. Whatever it is you need, we want to be there to help you. Creating content for social media and marketing on social media should be fun. Let us help you do that. If you or someone you know needs help with their social media marketing, we would love, just love, if you sent them our name. We hope to talk to you soon. Stay safe. Peace.